everyone, and welcome to the newest episode of Read Right to Left. It is February, the month of love.
Yay!
Romance is in the air. Yay! And so this month, Ray and I will be talking about a wonderful romance manga of which I would say has kind of captured people's attention. It's probably one of the more popular shoujo that we've seen over the last couple years.
And I'm so happy about that.
And especially in this kind of genre as well, like the high school romance genre. Yeah. It's one that has had a lot of broad appeal. Today, we're going to be spotlighting My Love Mix-Up by Arako and Wataru Hinakure.
Yep.
Arako's doing the artwork. You may recognize them from My Love Story, which is similar name, different story.
Yeah, not at all similar name in Japanese, but yeah.
Similar in English. And also I think I can understand why this series, when I alluded to like a very popular high school romance series, like My Love Story is probably the most recent that I remember that's had such a broad appeal in the same way that My Love Mix-Up has. I don't know if that's just because Arako is a very wonderful artist and makes things very funny, or if it is just, I don't know, similar vibes. But yeah, we are talking about My Love Mix-Up. This is a 9-volume series completed in both Japanese and English.
And if you
available. And
live in America, you can read the entire thing with your Viz app membership. But if you live in a heathen country like G, then you cannot.
Instead, you have to read it via those horrible physical paperback releases. That's me being facetious. I don't believe that's the truth. So, with the introduction of this particular series out of the way, Ray, can you tell us about My Love Mix-Up?
I can attempt to, yes. So, My Love Mix-Up, or Kieta Hatsukoi in Japanese, is about this high school boy named Aoki, who is very good-natured and very goofy. He's rather, extreme in his reaction to things. Makes some truly incredible faces over the course of the series. But he has a crush on the girl who sits next to him, Hashimoto. And one day during a test, he happens to borrow an eraser from her. And he happens to see on the eraser underneath the eraser box that she has drawn the name Ida with a little heart mark. And Ida is the name of his classmate who sits right in front of him because their names are very close in Japanese alphabetical order. And he doesn't know Ida really very much at all. They've maybe spoken twice. But he's like, oh man, the girl I like someone else. But then hijinks happen. He happens to drop the eraser on the ground. And who should pick it up but Ida, who is also a very good-natured, kind, polite boy, who, of course, would pick up the eraser that's fallen and give it back to him. And he happens to see his own name with a little heart mark on the eraser. And he, of course, thinks that the eraser belongs to Aoki, who dropped it. And we have a typical romcom misunderstanding mix-up. Ida thinks that Aoki likes him. And Aoki is such a wonderful dude that he's like, oh man, Hashimoto, you know, like, I don't want her, like, secret crush to be revealed on, like, not her terms. This is her secret. So he takes it upon himself to be like, yep, that's mine. That's my eraser. um, and Ida, also being just the kindest person alive, is like, they meet on the rooftop later because Aoki's like, hey, I need to talk to you. Meet me on the rooftop later. And Ida's like, oh my god, he's gonna confess his feelings.
How did I never notice before? He's always been so nice to me.
And then the little, like, author tag just says, he's just nice.
He's just a nice guy.
He's nice to everyone. But anyway, so smash cut to the rooftop later, and Aoki's there. He wants to, like, explain the misunderstanding, but he's also like, I don't want to let him know whose eraser it actually was, because that would be embarrassing for Hashimoto, and I think the world of Hashimoto. So I don't want to hurt her feelings or make things hard for her, and I want to support her in her crush on Ida. Because he's just that kind of guy. You know what? He doesn't get all down in the dumps when his girl likes someone else, okay? He's just like, I'm gonna...
I mean, he does.
He does.
He just doesn't outwardly, well...
He does.
Outwardly
He does.
make it her problem.
But he is also genuinely like, okay, well, the next best thing is, like, that the person that I have a crush on is happy. So, very self-sacrificing. But yeah, so they're on the rooftop. Aoki wants to explain the misunderstanding. Ida's expecting Aoki to confess his love to him. And Ida, he's been thinking all day about how to respond to this, because, you know, obviously he never expected that the person to confess their love to him would be a guy. But he's also just never really thought about, like, crushes or, like, love or anything like that. Bit of a late bloomer, Ida. So, and he's a very serious person. He's very, like, he takes things very seriously. He's very sincere. Sunao is the Japanese word that's, like, perfectly describes him. But, so he's been, like, taking this to heart and, like, really thinking about it and agonizing about it all day in his own way. And he's like, I don't necessarily feel that way about you, but, like, I also never considered it. And you came at me, like, with your heart on your sleeve. And, like, I don't want to, like, ignore those feelings or just, like, thoughtlessly step all over them. I want to give you, like, a proper answer after I've really thought about it, because I think that's what you deserve and what your feelings deserve. And so he's like, why don't we try and just, like, get to know each other a little better? Let's be friends. And Aoki's like, okay.
All right.
But also he's a little like doki doki, because Ida's just, like, so sweet. Like, honestly,
So sweet about it. Just, like, really nice. Just really considerate and lovely.
Who wouldn't fall head over heels for Ida? He is so sweet. Either of these boys, to be honest. They're so cute.
Yeah. Which is why they're well suited to each other, because
they deserve each other. So they do the friend. Well, Aoki's also thinking, he's like, if I'm like getting closer to Ida, then maybe I can help like make a chance for like Hashimoto to confess her feelings and then like play matchmaker for the two of them. And then at least my crush will be happy with the person that she likes. So they do that. They're like kind of hanging out more and getting to know each other better, and they're friends. Hashimoto kind of joins their little group. And she is also a very sweet girl. Very strong-willed. She knows how to speak her mind, but she's also just very good-natured and kind, like the other two. And there's also Aoki's shitty friend, Akun, who is like...
He's just clueless.
He's just vibing.
Just like a more accurate teenage boy, let's be real.
He's also like very accurate, like extrovert friend. He's just like, he's friends with everybody in the class. Everyone in school knows him. He's like, he is skating through life.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He just doesn't like think things through very well.
He's not.
Which again,
he's not really a deep thinker. Akun.
No.
He's also he's kind of self-centered. He doesn't like to really go out on a limb for other people too much. So if something inconveniences him, he'll just like. Well, first of all, he'll refuse, and then if he gets dragged along anyway, he'll just, like, bitch about it the whole time. He's really funny.
Yeah. Which is very funny, and which, again, is just exhibit A for real-life teenager.
Yeah. I love how he's the one who's always just, like, shamelessly slacking off during, like, cleaning duties. They're like, Akun, do your job, and he's like, nah.
Nah, I kind of don't feel like it. Kind of like never.
Anyway, did you see that new movie? So that's our main cast of 4 all set up now. Hijinks ensue for the rest of the volume. We have Ida and Aoki sort of getting to know each other more and kind of being like, especially Aoki is like, why can't I get this guy out of my mind now? Like, why do I find myself staring at him in class? Like, why, does my heart beat faster when he looks at me? Like, just the cutest little crush. I think all things considered, he figures out that it's a crush pretty quickly. He, at first he's kind of like, no, but I like Hashimoto, like, she's my girl, and I am really into her, but then, like, realizes that, I am very sorry for the dogs, they're, being dramatic. Where was I?
You're talking about Aoki figuring his crush out.
Yeah.
And, like, his... how he likes Hashimoto, or kind of, like, clings to the idea of, like, no, I like Hashimoto. That's the only reason. My heart goes pitter-patter for this strong, handsome boy who sits in front of me. Just because she has great taste that I agree with.
And I might...
she's the most perfect.
I might be even a little jealous. I don't know what that's about. I think it's the jealousy in particular where he's like, oh, no.
Oh, wait a minute.
But yeah, the end of the first volume is we get our big twist with the eraser that kind of makes all the ends tie up super neatly because it turns out that Hashimoto is not Aoki's rival in love because her crush is not on Ida. she's just been using her eraser a lot. So the first letter has not rubbed off. Like, it's been worn down, so you can't see the first letter anymore. And her crush is actually on Aida, which is Akun.
Akun!
Terrible taste. Or so you think at first, but no, he's actually, like, he's a super good guy too, so. They balance each other out really well as well, because she's very, like, on top of it, and she's, like, very sort of strong-willed, opinionated, and he's, like, not. So, but, yeah, so with this, we have our two main couples sort of figured out. Neither of them are obviously, like, dating or even fully, like, confessed to each other. Aoki, I can't remember. I don't think by that point he's, like, gone back and confessed, like, hey, actually, I really, really like you.
No, not quite yet.
Not quite yet.
It's more like, shenanigans.
No.
Ooh.
Yeah.
This was just one big misunderstanding the whole time.
Yep, but
and then I accidentally caught feelings for someone when I wasn't even, like, meaning to, and this is that's an interesting story of, like, you know, how you tell the kids, like, how you met or, like, how you got together. Imagine explaining.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
oops, I'm a bisexual. So, but it's like, it ends with, like, nobody's confessed to anybody yet, but now we know how the story's gonna end. We know who our two, like, main couples that we're rooting for are, so. And things sort of develop from there. It's a very, like, slow burn romance. This is also sort of similar to My Love Story. In that, like, they start dating pretty early on, just a couple volumes in. But, which starts as a, like, Ida's still, like, I haven't really figured out how I feel yet, but I do want to figure out how I feel, so let's try dating and see where it takes us.
Yeah.
So with that, like, even once they're together, it's, like, it's very slow burn. It takes until pretty close to the end of the series to get to their first kiss, so it's, like, that kind of shoujo. But yeah. That's the series.
And it's very fun. It's very funny.
Yeah.
Like, this series is hilarious.
It's really good.
Really, really funny. It's very sincere in all of the characters' emotions, which makes it really fun to read. We've kind of alluded to it a little bit, but Aoki's feelings and his, like, attraction as a bisexual person is never, like, questioned, or it's not played off as a joke. That his interest in both a girl initially and then a boy throughout the course of the series are both treated with, like, very equal weight. And, you know, there's people who react to that in, I would say, it's kind of, I'd hate to say normal ways. Like, there is aspects of, like, homophobia and things in this series, but it is addressed pretty quickly, and it's not done in, like, it's more from a lack of understanding, or again, a lack of consideration, which I think a lot of the series is about consideration. Even like Ida's initial, like, oh, I just want to figure out, like, how I feel first before, like, just dismissing you off the cuff, because that reactionally, that's what a boy, quote unquote, should do when another boy has like confess to him, because as like Ida hasn't, as Ray said, hasn't even considered like romance at all, really, full stop. Like he's never really understood girls who've had crushes, or like how to interact with girls who have crushed on him. He doesn't have much going on in his mind outside of like sports and just living his life. Like he does not have romance on the brain.
I love that he's one of those kids that's like, I'm going to be a teacher just because he loves school.
Exactly. And it's very well complemented because Aoki on the other side of that like has romance on the brain all of the time. So they're like very well.
Yeah, and also
so, like, one of them is freaking out because it's overthinking everything, and then the other one is kind of freaking out, like confused.
Yeah,
because
he's
the
so
other one's
confused.
freaking out, but all, like head empty.
Like, honestly though, the things that Aoki gets insecure about are like, I mean, they're such teenager things to get insecure about, but they're also like coming at it from like an adult perspective. It's always like, this is so minor, like just talk to him. And then like he finally does talk, like usually because Ida's like, look, talk to me. And then he finally talks to him, and then they like talk it out within like 2 pages, and they're like, oh, we're good, actually. Aoki's like, what was I even stressed about? I thought my life was over.
Crisis averted.
But I feel like that's actually something nice within the series, because it's like, I know that you, as well as I, are very allergic to misunderstanding-based plot lines. I appreciated it because Aoki is very much the kind of character who like gets super in his head about like the smallest things, and he's like, oh my god, this relationship is over, I've just ruined it, I'm the worst person in the world. And just like get all in his feelings and then not talk to anyone about it. But first of all, the fact that his freakouts are always hilarious, because again, Aruko just draws these like insane like slapstick comic faces that are like not something you see in manga, and particularly shoujo manga, very often. Like, she's not afraid to go like really grotesque with Aoki's like comedy faces. And that just adds so much to the series because he's such a dramatic character.
Plus, he's like he's a quintessential like pretty boy sort of, and like he's a good-looking guy shoujo manga character, which a lot of artists would be like, oh no, we can't like have our hot boy looking, weird. We can't have him making a funny face. Yeah. And this is all funny faces. It's all funny faces. It's so much funnier. It's so good.
And it's also like, and when it makes it feel more like mainstream shoujo as opposed to like BL, which this isn't BL by virtue of like what magazine it runs in, but also like the vibes. It reads as shoujo, and I feel like that's also, you can see that in sort of the way that like Aoki, our main character, our romantic hero, is sort of able to be like that sort of mousy, insecure, in this case, because this is a very comedic series, very comedic main character, because like Ida is there to be the one who's always like looking beautiful and sparkly. And I don't like that focus on like specific, like they're both very attractive obviously, but like that focus on just one of them as like, this is the love interest who you're supposed to think is hot, is kind of interesting, because BL is usually very focused on both of them, as objects of desire for the unseen reader. It's kind of refreshing in a way. Just having that sort of, like, every person that you get in, like, every shoujo rom-com, but just happen to be a boy who's still in love with a boy. But, I don't know. There's something nice about it. There's something refreshing. Something not quite like other series. In my opinion.
Yeah. And I like it a lot that when Aoki does have a lot of his freakouts and a lot of his, like, very comedic faces, that Hashimoto gets kind of... Because he does go to her a lot to, like, bemoan his love woes. They're very much... like partners in crime because they just are complaining about the boys that they have a crush on to each other.
And, like, Hashimoto is also the first person Aoki tells about his crush on Ida, and she's, like, super supportive, so he feels safe going to her as a confidant when he doesn't necessarily feel comfortable letting anyone else know that they're even dating, so...
And especially because, you know, she's coming from a perspective where he's the only one who knows about her crush on Aida. So it's like, Akun. So it's like, as I said, they know each other's secrets and they're supporting each other. Although Aoki is just like, man, you have terrible taste. Like, Hashimoto.
What do you see in him? Akun?
Man,
really?
He's my best friend, and I don't know what you see in this guy.
It is so funny. Akun just, like, as, like, the shitty friend. The main character is just such a funny bit. I love when he's like, Ida goes to Akun knowing that Akun is, like, Aoki's best friend, and is like, hey, can you tell me, like, what kind of things does Aoki like? Like, what's he into? Because he wants to know more about him, and Akun's just like, Aoki, huh? And it shows, like, a list of, like, the most important things in Akun's brain, and it's, like, 117 salmon skins, 118 Aoki, 119 yogurt lids. It's like...
He just has zero clue. Just, like, no idea what his good friend... Like, they hang out all the time as well, which is, like, he knows zero things about this guy that he spends a lot of time with.
Just not really taking an interest.
Man. Like...
It's like, I don't know, we, like, hang out or whatever. He sucks at video games, I guess. Akun makes me laugh so much.
You could truly have a gun to his head and ask him, like, name one thing that Aoki, or that, Aoki is interested in. And he'd just be like,
He'd probably end up just listing something
baseball?
He'd just end up listing,
he
he'd end up saying one of his favorite things.
And it would be, like, so off base. It would be like, oh yeah, gravure idols or something. It would just be like not even close. You're like, alright.
Yeah, I happen to know his favorite manga. Just gives his favorite manga. I hope you all you listeners are taking just the amount of cackling that we're doing in this episode as a recommendation, a hearty recommendation for this comedy series, because it really is, like, so funny. Laugh out loud, like, every chapter. It's very funny.
yeah, truly, if you're not laughing at least once a volume, then I don't know, man. Maybe you don't have love in your heart, because it is just so funny. Like, it's one of those things that even outside, like, it is perfectly paired with Aroko and just how silly and comedic the artwork, like their artwork can be, which is also why my love story was very successful, in a different way, but like the art certainly lent itself to that.
Yeah.
But these kids just are goofballs as well. Which also, like, my love story, and I hate to like keep making the comparison, but I don't know, there's same artist, so they feel kind of like cousins. They're not quite the same, but they're like sort of in that same family of series, where these are like just good kids.
Yeah.
Right? It's just fun to read. There is some like serious and dramatic stuff that the series does tackle. Namely, I mentioned kind of homophobia, and issues around that, and more so than that, like the betrayal of somebody like you trusted initially, and like the hurt that can have on you when you kind of just took it for granted that someone you liked and thought you had a good relationship would just would accept you, and then when they don't, that like how hurt that how hurtful that can be, how hurt you are from that, and I thought like that aspect is always done really well, and isn't like, it's never overwrought. It also always ties back to the characters talking to each other, and the acknowledgement of that hurt, specifically between Aoki and Ida, because Aoki is very easy to, because he like does recognize that he's a little bit dramatic and like he does overthink things, and he's very willing at times to like just laugh it off and play it off like, oh well, you know, it's just me being over dramatic and it's not that serious and blah blah blah, but it takes someone else, whether it's Hashimoto or whether it's Ida, to say like, no, actually it's okay for you to feel really sad and terrible about that, because you've been hurt, and that's a really, like, it's valid that you feel hurt about that, because you should, you know, this person hurt you in a way that you weren't expecting, and that happens a couple times over the course of the series, in like a realistic way.
It's
and it's just handled really well.
It's two particular. There's two particular incidences that I think you're thinking of in particular, and I want to go into both of them because I think that they are very good. But I also want to talk about, just like as a queer reader, it is nice that a lot of the drama in the series is not really related to like, you know, coming out woes and homophobia and stuff. It basically follows all of the same trajectory you would typically expect from like any shoujo rom-com, where it's like they start out in their second year of high school, so they're going through like figuring out, you know, the little paper that Japanese students have to fill out of like where they want to go to college, and then like, you know, Aoki has to start going to cram school because his test scores suck. And him and Ida have to figure out, like, if they want to go to college together, but, oh no, Aoki's grades aren't good enough to get into the school that Ida wants to go to. And all of the, like, cultural festivals, sports day. I love their class. It's just such a good-natured, like, you can tell they're all, like, it's a class of people who just, like, kind of get along. And it's, like, really good class vibes. It's, like, if you've ever had, like, a homeroom class where you, like, just really enjoyed being in that class. It's like those vibes. Which is super cute and sweet. But like the biggest like drama throughout the series is mostly just like Aoki and Ida like figuring out basically like what it is to like be in your first like really serious relationship, and like going through all those like first relationship steps and being like, you know, what does it mean to be this serious about somebody, and you know, when am I supposed to kiss him? And alongside all the like, oh no, entrance exams are coming up, stuff. Like it really is just like textbook shoujo manga drama for most of it, with just a little bit of those things that, you know, come up if you are like in a same-sex couple, sort of sprinkled in. Like, to be honest, there's not a whole lot of homophobia in this series, which is kind of nice.
No. I don't want. I didn't want to want to imply that like, oh, this is a very dramatic story about coming out and anything. But there is, and as to your point, absolutely, it's more about that story of like being in your first serious relationship, especially as a teen, and like all the uncertainty and shenanigans that can cause, especially when you've also got the pressures of being in high school and having to make decisions about your future.
Even though you're 17.
Plus, even though you're 17, plus you're like, but does this boy actually like me, or is he not responding to my text because he decided he hated me overnight because I said that I liked the color blue instead of purple?
Yeah, because I shrank his hand-knitted sweater. Yeah.
Teenagers.
But to go back to those two particular like instances, the first one is like Akun being himself and saying something insensitive. Oh, Akun.
Oh, Akun.
Basically, he like it's like Aoki, I think, tells him about the eraser, and like Akun is like, oh, we gotta go like correct this like misunderstanding. Like it would be super awkward for like both of you guys if like you kept all this going on. Like, come on, Aoki. Like, he knows Aoki, right? So he's like, as much as he pretends he doesn't know a single thing about Aoki, he does know his friend, and he's like, you probably just haven't actually talked to him about anything. So this is all a big misunderstanding. And I'm going to step in as the insensitive friend to say the difficult shit that you're
as your brilliant best friend.
Yeah, your brilliant detective
as your genius best friend.
Yeah, I have carefully deduced the truth of this situation. So he takes it upon himself to go to Ida and be like, hey, it was all like a misunderstanding. And Aoki's like, obviously being himself, is like, you know,
well,
this
isn't that hilarious? I'm so embarrassed for you
guys.
guys.
He's like,
man,
oh my god,
shenanigans.
That's the other thing is like he makes fun of it. He's like, oh man, super embarrassing. You guys, like, that must be so awkward for you guys. Like, this is all so funny. We should laugh about it. And then he's like kind of miffed when like nobody's laughing. So but of course Aoki doesn't really like tell him why he's sad, because he's all in his head about like, well, maybe actually I am the weird one for having a crush on a guy, and like Ida doesn't even like me. Like, he's dating me out of pity, because he told me that he doesn't know how he feels, and that must mean that he's dating me out of pity, and he doesn't actually like me at all. And like, it really is for the best that he just feels like this is all a misunderstanding, and we can just go back to the way that we were, and I can just be my weird gay self silently. Like, truly, like, a bottomless spiral of thoughts. But, when, like, Aoki actually, like, tells... He confides in Hashimoto once again. And she's like, this is terrible. He's terrible. I can't believe I had a crush on somebody who would say something like that to his friend.
So insensitive.
Like, and that helps Aoki see, like, oh, like, maybe Akun's in the wrong here. Maybe he's being insensitive. And Hashimoto's like, we're gonna go talk to him. I'm gonna go have a talk with him. Hashimoto has big Karen energy, but she, like, uses her power for good. So, they sort things out, and it's really sweet because Akun, like, Hashimoto's talking to Akun, and she's, like, in tears because she's like, man, I really liked you, but how can you be so insensitive? But Akun's like, I think I've made a really bad mistake because if what you're saying to me is true, then, and Aoki really likes Ida, then I just really hurt my friend. And I said something awful to him. And he, like, actually has that moment of self-reflection because, again, Akun, the bit is that Akun is a terrible person, but he's actually super nice, so. And they, like...
Well, like, Akun reacted in the way that, like, he would react, right? Because he's just, again, never considered it, and, like, isn't questioning his sexuality, and just... It would just be, like, a hilarious joke to him, like, kind of awkward, but something you would laugh about.
And he would be like, of course neither of these dudes like each other for real. It's just a big misunderstanding.
Yeah. we're all extremely heterosexual.
Yeah, we're all
over
normal.
Here. This is and so in his, just as again, a lot of teenagers, very self-absorbed, have no fucking, like, any iota about any other person. No, it's very hard for them to kind of conceptualize things out of their exact experience that they are living. So it takes that prompting to be like, oh shit, like, actually maybe this was not a big funny joke to these guys, and I've hurt someone who's actually, like, I'm friends with and is actually quite important to me. And I did, my bad, dude, sorry, like, really didn't mean to do that. And when he gets that opportunity to reflect, and when he's given that context as well, he's like, oh shit, oh shit, oh.
And it's sweet, because after that point, he's like, because it's not really, like, it's not coming from a sense of, like, hatred of, like, gay people. He's just, like, never actually had a single thought about another person in his entire life.
Especially not another boy. Like, ew, God, man.
So, once he figures out that he's in the wrong here and apologizes to Aoki, he, of course, like, he's in the core friend group of this, like, super, like, sweet, good-natured group of friends. He's, like, totally their cheerleader for the rest of the series, and it's adorable. In his own way.
In his own way. He tries to be supportive. He got the spirit, even if he's a little bit confused.
Usually, like, to be honest, he's got some pretty insightful things to say. Such as the next incident that we're going to talk about, which is Aoki has to go to cram school because his test scores are terrible, and he wants to actually try to get into a good school. I love, like, the whole, like, parent-teacher conference where the teacher is like, oh my god, you want to go into Shue? I don't, you're gonna, oh my god. And his mom is like, you said you weren't worried about him at all. And the teacher is like, I thought he wasn't going to college. I thought he was going to make pastries for the rest of his life. But, so, anyway, he's like, I want to go to the same school as Ida. They actually have a program that looks interesting to me. And I want to be with Ida. And, so he has to fix his grades and fix them fast, which means that he has to go to cram school, like, every fucking day. And his, like, one-on-one mentor that he has at cram school, is a guy named Okano, who is a college student, and he, like, honestly, as an adult, kind of questionable. He's immediately asking this, like, child, if he, is dating anyone, and, like, how far they've gotten and shit, and it's like, I'm uncomfy with this whole circumstance, to be honest. Going all cool youth pastor on this little boy. But, Okano, like, within the series, it's like, Aoki, you know, he's got a big sister, but he doesn't have a big brother, so he meets this, like, college student who's, like, telling him how to fix his grades, but also, like, giving him life advice and, like, you know, asking about his girlfriend and stuff. He's like, this guy's super cool. He's, like, the big brother I'd never had. And he gets, like, super attached to this guy just, like, as a mentor. He's like, oh, he's so cool. I really want to impress him. I want to get super good test scores. And, like, if I ace this test, he's going to take me out for ramen. And that's going to be awesome because I admire this guy so much. I just think he's the coolest.
He's 20, so you know he's super cool.
Obviously.
Right? Like, he's an adult.
Obviously. And he's been in so many relationships. And he's in college.
He's got, like, so much life experience.
Yeah.
He's just, like, actually super cool.
He's just, like, worldly and, like... Nah, but, like, you know, when you're a teenager, like, people like Okano are super cool, and you want to be just like them.
Yeah.
So...
When you're 17, the 20-year-old who's like, oh, yeah, I can buy you Bud Light is, like, the coolest guy you know, right?
Yeah.
Like...
So, and that's specifically what it is. It's, like, Aoki's, like, you know, he's got, like, this... He just aced this test that he was so worried about. And he spent so much time studying... I felt so bad for him because he, like, got accused of cheating because he got such a good grade.
Yeah.
And it's like, just, like, coming at it from a teacher's perspective, I'm like, what are you doing, my man? Like, oh my gosh. There's more tactful ways to figure out if there's monkey business happening here. Like, you know, you can be like, hey, I was really impressed with how you did on this test. Do you want to, like, show me all the notes that you took? Like, you must have been studying so hard. And figure out if they cheated that way. But nope, this old geezer teacher has to ruin his hopes and dreams. But so he aced this test. He worked so hard studying. He got help from Ida and Hashimoto and Akun. They all studied together, and he's super proud of himself, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to show this to Okano after school today at cram school, and he's going to buy me ramen. Because he promised. But then we also have this sort of, like, parallel storyline, I guess, where Ida and Aoki are well, Aoki really wants to hold Ida's hand. They're just kids. They're just little kids.
Oh boys. Oh boys.
So the culmination of like that little romantic plot line happens at the top of a bridge over the road. An overpass, I guess. Call it a normal thing. But words, English, I don't know. But they like are holding hands and like making googly eyes at each other. And it's so cute. And I think yeah, so it's so cute. And you're like smiling so much because you've been waiting for this moment for these two boys to hold hands. And who should see them being all gay with each other but Okano, fucking dude bro college student.
Especially because Aoki has been like kind of confiding in with him about like, oh, I want to like the person I'm dating, I really want to hold their hand.
I really want to hold their hand. We eat lunch with each other every day.
All the time. And he's like, oh yeah, dude, like just, you know, it's your girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. And obviously, because Aoki hasn't told him that his crushes or the person he's dating is a boy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's just like, oh yeah, well, you know, I'm a sage adult. I can tell you all of the things about love.
Yeah.
And so when all of these things, it's like, oh yeah, I wanna hold the hand of the person I'm dating, and he sees said person that he's dating isn't a cute high school girl, but instead is a handsome high school boy. Well, that changes things.
Yeah.
That changes things.
Yeah, I like when he's like, so what, you gotta tell me, like, what does she look like? What's her hair like? And he's like, cropped short and black? And Okano's like thinking of like a tall volleyball type girl, and he's like, refreshing. But yeah, so Okano sees them being all gay up on the overpass and holding hands and being cute and shit. And he much like Akun is a bit self-absorbed. So he like, especially because
again, like most 20-year-olds.
Yeah, especially 20-year-old men.
Yes. Yeah.
And so he's like, this kid's been like, this kid really likes me. Like, he like has been like confiding in me, and we've been talking about all this stuff, and he looks at me with such admiration. Oh no, what if he's like got a crush on me? Because he's got that whole idea that like,
he does that.
Gay guys will go for anyone kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, it's the heterosexual urge to be like, oh, well, obviously they would have a crush on me. This isn't just for guys. Women do this as well. But it's just like, oh, you know, obviously you're, you know, one of the gays. So obviously, like, me being so attractive, I'm not interested. And you're like, well, it's great.
Yeah, neither am I. Yeah.
You're like, oh.
But specifically, he's got this, because as we'll see later, like, he's got this idea in his head of gay people being, like, cruisers and kind of, like, desperate for any male attention. And specifically, like, picking up older men. So, he, is, like, super creeped out. And then when Aoki shows him the test he aced and is like, yeah, you're gonna buy me ramen now. Your treat. You promised. Okano's like, oh, yeah, something came up. And then Aoki's like, what do you mean? You promised. And then Okano's like, well, I kind of saw you with that guy the other day holding hands, and I didn't know you were like that. So super sorry that I offered. And it just, like, crushes Aoki's little heart, as it would anyone. But, and of course, Aoki being Aoki, he just, like, you know, is in his feelings and, like, freaking out, and he's like, obviously anyone would think that I'm gross, like, for dating a guy. Like, I shouldn't even be doing this. This is, like, weird. Obviously, Hokano would think it was weird, because it is weird, and I'm weird. And so, you know, it's totally normal, to get this kind of reaction. And, maybe I should be the one to apologize to him. And he's like, he's just, like, stapling a stack of papers for, like, one of his teachers or something, at school, and his three friends are helping him, and he's just stapling so slowly.
It's like, you okay there, bud?
And they're like,
Need a minute?
you're stapling so slowly. What is wrong? Something is up, obviously. Share with the class. And so Aoki tries to, like, brush it off, and he's like, oh, you know, I was really looking forward to, like, getting ramen with my cram school mentor, because I aced that test that I worked really hard on. But, you know, he, like, figured out about me and Ida, and now he doesn't want to take me anymore. You know, just a little thing. It's not a big deal. And of course, like, the other three are, like, stone silent, like, looking back at him, and they're like, that is a big deal. That is a big deal. And you should be upset. And Hashimoto's, like, ready to throw hands.
I will fight this 20-year-old university student. I will fucking defend your honor.
Literally,
how dare he?
Precisely her reaction is, I am going to go write them a strongly worded email right now. And Ida's the one who's like, want me to go fight him in a Denny's parking lot? Because I will. Let's go. So, and it's just so nice that it's just, like, complete, like, it's not treated like a normal thing to be homophobic. It's like, yeah, no, like, he was shitty to you, and he was being bigoted, and that's not okay, and you should feel upset for that. And he should not have done that. Like, the way that it's just shut down so completely is really nice, especially in manga, where I feel like there's a tendency to be like, well, but what about the other person's feelings? Like, you know, maybe it makes sense for him to be, like, creeped out. This series is really nice because it just shuts that shit down immediately. It's like, no, like, we don't treat people like that.
No, you're... We're all human beings, and we all have feelings, and we're all valuable, and you just don't do that. That's shit tier behavior. Don't do that.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
So, you know, winning on two levels there with the acknowledgement that bisexuality exists, and also that you don't have to be, like, a weird, like, horny alien to be bisexual, but also but also that homophobia is unequivocally wrong and shitty and should be shut down whenever you see it. Very, very good things, both of those. And not all that common in media in general, but especially manga.
Yeah.
And J-dramas as well. This is a very cute J-drama adaptation. But, yeah, anyway, so Aoki, decide, like, he talks it over with Ida, and Ida's like, so what do you want to do? Like, do you want to go talk to him, and I can come with you, or I can talk to him, or, like, you know, what do you want to do with this situation? And Aoki's like, you know what? I want to go and get a bowl of ramen with you, and not with stupid Okano. So, they, you know, make plans to go get ramen, out, you know, and skip cram school out. He's gonna skip cram school, obviously, to go get ramen instead. Ida is a little late after, club practice, so, Aoki's sort of, wandering, making his way to the restaurant, I think, on his own. He runs into this weird old man, just really desperate for, directions to the business hotel he's trying to get to, just like a businessman. And yeah. Aoki's like, well, it's not too far, and, like, it's pretty confusing how you get there, so, like, I'll just walk you to that hotel, because he's just such a nice guy. And he does that, and the businessman is just, like, it doesn't seem, like, weird in a dangerous way, but he's just kind of weird in a weird way. And, like, tries to press, like, a couple $100 into Aoki's hand. Like, thank you, young man. I insist that you take this. And Aoki's like, what the fuck? What's happening? No. And he's like, you must. You have to take it. And it's just vaguely surreal. But Okano shows up and, you know, in the nick of time, I guess. To just, like, you know, jump in front of Aoki and be like, you take your money and you get out of here. I can't, this boy is a minor. And then he's like, Aoki, I can't believe that you would do something like this for money. You have to, like, be more, careful, or, you know, not careful, like, you have to treasure your own body more, value yourself more.
Yeah.
So obviously he thinks that, Aoki, because it's like the stereotype, that, like, all gay guys are, like, cruisers or, like, male prostitutes, and he's like, you know, don't be prostituting yourself to these creepy old men, for money. And Aoki is just so confused, but then, like, hurt. And he's like, that's not what was happening at all. And, like, and then Okano's like, yeah, I bet you were doing the same thing with that boy on the overpass the other day. And Aoki's like, that was my fucking boyfriend.
Like, how dare you?
How dare you?
How dare you?
And then he just is like, Okano, you're so prejudiced. And Okano's like, prejudice? It's really funny.
He's like,
destroys his entire
like,
sense of self.
Yeah, exactly. His own self-perception just get immediately shattered. Just,
I thought I was awesome.
All these teenagers love me. I couldn't be prejudiced. And you're like, oh man.
And then, of course, Ida comes to save the day from the homophobic cram school mentor. Because, conveniently, it turns out that the business hotel is right next to the restaurant they were going to. So, Ida, like, steps in to also just be like, what you're doing to my boyfriend, like, isn't cool. And then, like...
Hey, man, quit being terrible to my boyfriend.
Yeah.
Leave him alone.
But then Okano is like, look, I'll treat both of you to ramen. Let's go to the ramen shop, all three of us. And Ida's like, I don't want to do that. But Aoki's like, I do want to do that. So Ida's like, fine, we'll do that. They have a little makeup ramen sesh. And there's like this very cute little like kid-friendly, like, you know, people are different, but that's just the spice of life kind of thing. Where it's like they each get like a different flavor of ramen. And Okano has this revelation where he's like, we all have different tastes in ramen, but we're all just people. It's like, yeah. Really deep. I'm sure that a 20-year-old heterosexual man would probably find that to be a very deep revelation.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I liked how that was handled. That whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, in the real world, you can't fix homophobic people that easily, but in fiction, you can. So, and yeah. I also wanted to mention one of my favorite bits in the series.
Yeah.
Is Ida's dog.
Oh yeah.
Mametaro, who is a very adorable Shiba Inu, but he just absolutely loathes Aoki so much. Just constantly biting him and making like the stinkiest faces at him. And the dog faces are just as good as the Aoki faces. They're so good.
Yes. And honestly, classic Sheeb behavior. Like, truly the perfect way to capture those dogs. Because they are so mean to everyone. They hate everyone.
Except their person.
Except their person. They have one person and then everyone else can get lost. How dare you even look in my direction?
Except, like, the bit is that this dog literally only hates Aoki. Mametaro is super kind and nice and loves pets as long as they are not from Aoki. Get that young man away from me.
Yeah. Until Aoki figures out the true way to the dog's heart, and they come to a tentative agreement. Yeah.
Then he still like tries to like pet him a bunch, and he's like, "Don't push your luck."
Don't you dare.
I love that dog, and I love how much Ida loves his dog.
Yeah. This series is so sweet. It's just such a good time. It's fun and funny. And all the characters are really good. All the story is really good. I appreciate that it's only 9 volumes long, which also helps. Like, because a lot of times when you end up in shoujo manga, it can really, really drag. And not that this was like a fast-paced, you know, immediate in love sort of story. It's nice that you know, we got the characters together fairly quickly. I didn't have a problem with like the secondary couple either. I know probably some people were not as interested in them, but I thought they were fun to follow.
My consistent experience was like seeing that it was a beta couple focused chapter and being like, oh man, I wanted more of the main couple. But then like as I'm reading the chapter, I'm like, actually I love these two as well. And that happened every time one of their chapters showed up. I'd be like, oh man. And then I would read it and be like, this is really good.
I loved when Akun went over to Hashimoto's family's home to like meet the parents, and he's just like, that explains so much.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why that she's like that. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I will never break your daughter's heart ever. I will.
Yeah, and I love when Akun like takes Aoki furniture shopping, for his own apartment. In his own car, neglecting to mention he got his license yesterday.
He's like, yeah, that's why we haven't been hanging out so much. I've been getting my license. It's like, oh man, that's incredible. It's like, yeah, I passed the test yesterday. Yeah. And you go, oh, Jesus.
They arrive at the furniture store and Aoki's like, I saw my life flash before my eyes.
Solid ground.
And then
Thank you.
And then Aoki's like, wow, he must have realized that the test results are coming out tonight and, you know, realized that I must be anxious. And Akun's like, yeah, I really wanted to get in some driving practice with another passenger in here before I take Hashimoto out. But yeah, this is a really sweet series. Is there anything else that you want to add before we get into our single solitary listener question?
The school trip arc, or when they're going skiing, love that chapter.
Yeah,
that's so fun. Love that arc. There's a lot of brilliant arcs throughout this series, but oh my god, them in the snow and trying to ski, perfection, comedy genius. I love it, and everything about it. And this series legitimately is like so funny, and as said, very genuine, very heartfelt, but just like actually cry laughing.
Yeah.
Just cry laughing. It's so good.
Yeah.
And it's still effective. Like you come back to it and you reread it and it's still funny. Mm-hmm. Like it's still really funny.
Yeah.
It's not just like the one time, and even if you know what to expect, as soon as you see those faces, you're like, oh my god, you can't not laugh.
Yeah.
You
You can't. Yeah, it's a good series. So our one question that we got is from @SunlitLake, a friend of the show, saying, I've seen this series brought up before in the discussion of needed anime adaptations and how live action is a cop-out. Personally, I really enjoyed the drama for this, and I don't see the need for all manga to get anime adaptations when they might not be suited. Your thoughts? And then they also say, side note, I watched said drama on Japanese Netflix with a VPN. English subtitles available on there. Mm-hmm. If you're like me and always try to support stuff in as legal a manner as possible, LOL. So thank you for pointing out where we can watch this. That is not Crunchyroll. Mm-hmm. I believe you can also watch it on Crunchyroll, but I think some of us have some issues with Crunchyroll right now, so. But yeah, I agree. I think that this drama was really cute. I wish it covered a bit more of the story, but um, super cute. And I think a lot of shoujo manga like this one are really suited to drama, like live action
Mm-hmm.
drama. I do think this one in particular, just because I think that there's a way to adapt this to animation that really gets across the like that uh those faces like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um that I think would add something that you don't get in live action. But I also think that there's something that is added in live action that isn't necessarily added in animation. Like I think,
Mm,
the romance scenes come across so real because it's live action actors, and
mm-hmm.
the school scenes just feel so like natural and true to life. Um, so, I think I would like to see an anime for this particular series, but I certainly don't think that a live action drama
Mm-hmm.
is a cop out, especially because like, they're
Mm,
going off data that like female fans tend to be more drawn to live action dramas and stage
mm,
adaptations than they are to anime adaptations. So, you know.
mm. Yeah, I don't have a dog in this race because I haven't seen the live action. Um, so I can't really speak to it, but I do, as someone who has one watched a lot of shoujo anime, two has has series that I love, manga series that have had both anime and like live action adaptations, specifically shoujo and josei stuff. Um, I agree with Ray that I don't think that like a drama or a live action movie kind of adaptation is a cop out when it comes to especially like a quote unquote modern day like normal setting, right? Like it might be a little bit different if there's a fantastical element
Mm-hmm.
there, but office romance or high school romance or bloody historical romance isn't like we can achieve that in our just with our normal meat bodies, right? We don't need the allure of animation to make the characters fit the world. Um, but I do think that the benefits of having an anime, and specifically for like a more a shoujo manga with general appeal, right? Is that it does create larger exposure for people outside of the general audience, maybe. Again,
It,
I bring up My Love Story,
yeah, at least in Western
where
fandom.
yes, yeah, for sure. Because again, whether it's My Love Story, whether it's like Kimi ni Toroke or Fruits Basket, any of these things that has a very high female, like understandably, has a very high female fan percentage. By having an anime adaptation, I'm not saying like every anime guy is gonna like dude who's into anime will watch it, but they will. A lot of them will try it, and hell, they might even like it, right? And so that does introduce the series to more people, which obviously means it's more popular, which obviously then rolls out into in the Western space, and that's the perspective that I'm speaking from. It does mean that you have more opportunity to be able to one get that series, talk about that series, engage with it, share it with more people. It gives it a little bit more cred, which is a weird thing to say, especially because we don't get a lot of the live action adaptations, especially in like physical media as well, in the Western fandom. I'm not going to say we never do because we sometimes we do, but really there are streaming services that we get some some dramas and things on, and
Yeah.
Crunchyroll, as mentioned, a lot of well, I don't know if it's in the same in the US, but here in Australia, every so often, well, once a year we have the Japanese Film Festival, and as part of that, we do sometimes get like live action adaptations of various manga of all, of all demographics. So, if you are a fan and you're like, oh, I want to see, if you're like me, I want to see the new Chihaya Furu live action movie, then you can just buy a ticket and go see it, and then you watch it and you're like, I wish I could own that on DVD or Blu-ray, and then you can't because that's not how life works. And I need subtitles. I'm not that good at Japanese. So there are options, but for the sheer like exposure and longevity as well for a series in the Western space, and anime certainly helps with that. A similar series that I would say, like, not demographically, but I think kind of vibes wise, and that a lot of would have the same sort of fan base is Skip and Loafer, which recently got an anime and got a huge boost because of its anime. And that's a seinen series, but it's about high school kids, right? It's about teens and their relationships, and like they're just struggling through high school, and maybe their love lives, but maybe not their love lives, and also just friendship and how it feels to be a teen. And I love that manga. I think it's fantastic. I do think, and I haven't seen the anime, but I saw how popular it was and how many people were introduced to that manga through the anime. And that happens pretty much every time there is an anime adaptation of something. Especially a good anime adaptation of something.
Well, it's like, even
not so much of it sucky.
Even currently, with a series whose drama I also really enjoyed, and which is also available in English, with English, well, not with English subtitles on Western platforms, that has a current anime adaptation, and as a result, I see way more buzz about it than when it was just the live action drama and the feature-length live action film. Would be Cherry Magic, which has a Thai drama now going as well. Which, there's been buzz for the series in Japan forever. But I feel like I only, me and G and our little circle of friends who have impeccable taste just like we do, are really into Cherry Magic. And I know quite a few of them have also watched the drama. I'm very sorry for the dogs, but I had to go plug in my computer. And we're finishing up, so. But. Dogs, okay. But. And that drama is very good. But. In my opinion. But, yeah, and we've had the manga in English for, like, quite a long time, but, just having an anime, that is covering the exact same content as the drama, like, it gets so much more buzz, at least in Western fandom spaces, and certainly you see more guys trying it out, which I feel like is not really the goal when you're selling to a Japanese audience. Like, if your series is aimed at a presumed female audience, like, you're going to continue to make tie-in media that is also going to be popular with a female audience and probably pull in more women. So, live action is, like, the sensible choice for that kind of thing, right? Live action, drama, if it's more on the fantastical side, maybe like a 2.5D musical, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but certainly, like, on the westerns of these dogs are going to be the death of me. But certainly on the Western fandom side of things, it's like you just can't get people talking about a series until it has an anime, which is kind of a shame, but I understand why.
Yeah, I mean it's not a secret that, and these examples that I'm going to pull up are a bit more. I mean, they're high school series, and one of them has live action adaptation, but are a little bit more fantastical. But like, there's a reason that in the early 2000s, series like Ouran High School Host Club and Fruits Basket, which had very popular anime adaptations that most people watched because there wasn't necessarily a lot of anime in the market, so everyone just watched everything, and do have very large male fan bases in the interim years, were popular to that extent. Like, if they had just had the live action drama and the manga available, we wouldn't have people who are like, oh yeah, 2004 Fruits Basket is just like one of the best classic shoujo around, which is a wrong opinion anyway, but also like
an objectively incorrect opinion.
But you can understand like why, because it was available, it was something that people could watch and have fun with a love story, and also it fit their little cartoons that they already enjoyed.
There's so many like fanboys from that era who are like, that's the only shoujo anime they watched, and they're like, man, like no other anime I've watched has ever like engaged my emotions like that one.
Like Ouran and Fruits Basket? Yeah, I'm fucking cool, dude. Cool.
Well, original, like, early 2000s Fruits Basket specifically is like, you sure? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, alright.
Like, the new anime that covers the whole story, it's like, yeah, that probably, like, emotionally traumatized you for the rest of your life. Just like for the rest of us. But
But I mean, you see it with the same thing as like all of the villainess and shoujo light novel stuff that are getting anime adaptations now, because those are getting more popular. We're getting more licensed. It's a huge market, and that wouldn't have happened if they weren't getting anime adaptations.
Yep.
They're hugely popular in Japan, which is why they're getting adaptations in the first place. But they are then thus making their way to English and English spaces because of that tie-in media, more so than even like the original format of it. I don't know. It's a vast web of multimedia projects that a lot of these things exist in. And so, like, I'm not, as someone who hasn't watched an anime in a very long time, I will say, just quietly, I don't dislike it. I just do not have the time in my day.
Yeah,
but
same.
It wouldn't, I can totally understand why people want a My Love Mix-Up anime, especially, and again, I hate to keep making these comparisons, but My Love Story, that anime is so popular, and again, that's one of those series that, like, guys tried, and they're like, this is actually really good and funny, and then they read the manga, and they're like, man, this shoujo is unlike anything. It's actually really good and funny, and you're like, oh my god.
I swear, like, you show these guys, like, one vaguely pretty, like, male character, and they, like, self-combust. So the second
like,
they see,
oh my god, girls have such high unrealistic expectations in men. I, a boy who's never washed my face in my life, think that this is just too much. How dare they?
So they'll see
How dare they?
They'll see like Natsume's Book of Friends and be like, ew, he looks like a girl. And then they'll like watch My Love Story because they're like, oh, a relatable protagonist. It's like, yeah, because female characters are inherently unrelatable. Sure.
Sure.
You know, keep telling on yourself.
Truly, I don't understand how so many cishet guys, young guys, get so threatened by the idea of like just that girls are interested in just like a nice guy who's nice to them and like thinks about them and brushes his hair in the morning and cares about the people in his life. So
showers.
Like, girls, that's truly does. That nobody could live up to that. Nobody could live up to that expectation. That's how. Oh, these girls are living a fantasy. This is not even realistic. Meanwhile, all of their shows have 15-year-olds with like triple J cups and no back problems and a bratty but catty personality. And you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, so. But I hate to cut this off, but I should really free the dogs from their prison. They've been barking nonstop for the last 2 hours, so.
Poor babies. So with that, and we've covered everything. This has been a very fruitful discussion, but mostly us just laughing at things we were remembering about the series, which I think is testament enough to like how good it is, and that you should definitely read it. As said, you can read this on the Viz manga app if you are in the United States of America. No other place, just there. And if you are not there, then you can get it through Shoujo Beat, Viz's Shoujo sub or imprint, I should say. Next month we're doing speaking of digital platforms and subscription services.
Hey.
We are doing another platform spotlight. We are going to be talking about Manga Plaza, which is not one of the big ones, not one that I think a lot of people are on or reading from frequently. I certainly have no idea about any of the series there, aside from like just the general glut of Kodansha digital releases that there are on every digital platform. But I am interested in trying it, and so
this time we can't have an app that we're covering that we praise so much for still being a subscription model suddenly switch to a chapter by chapter microtransaction based model, like with the Mangamo episode that we did. Because this one is already a chapter by chapter microtransaction based service. But it has one series on it that I myself am particularly fond of, so I am eager to talk about that one and also discover any other hidden gems they might have. So,
which may or may not exist. We'll have to.
We'll find out.
It'll be an adventure. We'll figure it out.
It might just be me praising this one series, and then like we just trash talk everything else. It'll be an adventure.
It'll be an adventure, and people love when we trash talk, as is evidenced from our previous episodes. But yes. So, as always, if you have any questions about Manga Plaza specifically, please let us know on, the platform formerly known as Twitter. You can follow me there at that's G-E-E_reads. Be sure to also follow Ray there. She is at whimsicalpix, P-I-X, that's all one word. You can find this podcast on all of the wonderful podcasting platforms. Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. You can also find it on YouTube at my YouTube channel, Simply G, as a podcast. So there's just there's a lot of avenues if you want to listen to us in some capacity. If you are following us there as well, leave a comment or a review. We appreciate it. We don't have many, but we love each and every one that we do get, and we do read them. We do truly, truly appreciate all of you wonderful people who are still listening to us 5 years later. And yeah, have a wonderful rest of February, everyone. It is a leap year. We're getting an extra day for this month of love. And I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye till then.
Bye, guys.